Today, we're going to dive into a study called the Human Firewall. And honestly, it reveals a really critical and pretty surprising weakness in our digital defenses, especially when it comes to the people we assume are the safest of all online. We have this idea of digital natives, right? The generation that basically grew up with smartphones in their hands, totally fluent in the language of tech. But the big question this study really makes us ask is, does being tech savvy automatically mean you're tech safe? I mean, our gut instinct is to say, yeah, of course. But as we're about to find out, this research pinpointed a massive weakness, a gap in our digital armor, right where we least expect to find it. And that gets us to what folks call the digital native myth. It's this core belief that just because young people are so comfortable with technology, they're naturally better at handling all the dangers that come with it. They know the apps, they get the lingo, but does that really translate into secure everyday habits? Well, the study puts its finger on a central paradox of our time. As technology gets better and faster and more integrated into our lives, that very progress opens up brand new doors for cyber threats. It actually makes us more vulnerable, not less. So, to really put this myth to the test, researchers over at Bulacan State University in the Philippines decided to run a kind of digital checkup. They wanted to see just how cyber-aware their students truly are. So here's the quick breakdown of what they did. They surveyed 75 students, and they were measuring two key things. First, their knowledge of cybersecurity threats, and second, what kind of actual training they'd had on the topic. And get this, a staggering 97% of these students get online mainly through their phones. So think about that. The main battlefield for their personal security isn't a laptop or a desktop. It's the device that's in their pocket all day, every day. And this brings us right to the absolute heart of the study's findings. It's a concept the researchers call the knowing-doing gap. It's that really dangerous space between what we know we should do and what we actually end up doing. So, okay, let's start with the good news. When it came to just pure knowledge, the students were brilliant. I mean, a 4.6 out of 5 on recognizing threats like phishing scams and malware, that's fantastic. On paper, they absolutely know the enemy. But, and this is the big but, here's where the problem shows up. When the questions switched from what they knew to what they actually did, their daily habits, those scores dropped. Things like using secure passwords or being cautious with links. Now, that dip might look small, but it is hugely significant. It's the first real crack in the human firewall. So let's be super clear about this term, the knowing-doing gap. This isn't a knowledge problem, it's an action problem. They know what a phishing link looks like, but in the rush of a busy day, they still might click it anyway. Which, of course, begs the million-dollar question, why? If we know the risks, why don't we consistently do the right thing to protect ourselves? Well, the study dives right into the psychology behind this really dangerous gap. A huge reason is something I'm sure we can all relate to, security fatigue. I mean, just think about it. We are constantly being bombarded with security tasks. Create another complex password, enable two-factor auth, verify your identity, update your software now. It is exhausting. And so we start to trade safety for convenience. We reuse an old password just to make our digital lives a tiny bit easier. And this all connects to a really important idea from psychology called protection motivation theory. Basically, it says that just knowing a threat is really bad isn't enough to make us act. We also have to feel confident. We have to truly believe that we actually have the power to stop it. Okay, so we've laid out the problem, we've looked at the psychology behind it, so what's the solution? How do we actually close that gap and build a much stronger human firewall? Well, the data from the study couldn't be clearer on this. There is a strong, significant, positive link between cybersecurity education and cybersecurity awareness. To put it really simply, education works, period. But it can't just be any old education. The study found that students need practical, hands-on learning, not just boring lectures. We're talking about real-world simulations, like, say, running a controlled phishing attack that build a kind of muscle memory, helping them spot a real threat instinctively without even thinking about it. So, based on all of this, the study lays out a really clear 3-part action plan. First, make practical training mandatory for new students to build good habits from day one. Second, help reduce that security fatigue by automating things like password updates. And third, launch targeted campaigns that focus on the biggest weak spots, like mobile security and those unsecured campus Wi-Fi networks. And that, well, it brings us right back to you.
This whole explainer has given you the knowledge, just like those students in the study. So the real question is, what are you going to do with it? What's the one small action you can take today to close your own knowing-doing gap?